I'm alive. Give me a sec. Seriously, best ice cream ever. It's backwards. It's Pana Organic Salted Caramel. Best stuff ever. So, my lighting's terrible. Deal with it. My daughter's asleep and she's sick. So, I have to keep all my lights down low. So, coaches. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today about coaches and about why I've had a lot of coaches and why they have not ever worked. And this is what I shared with her, and I wanted to create a video about it as well. So there are two different types of people who I think really need coaches in this world. They're both victims. However, one of them is a high achieving victim, which means these are the coaches who share about being a victim. They share about having a victim mentality. They share about how hard their life was, how traumatic it was. But they achieve so much. Like, they're amazing achievers. They set up a coaching program, for one thing. They created success in their business. They have had high successful jobs, or they've created a success as a sports person. Like, they are achievers. And I call these the achieving victims. On the other side of that, there are those of us, namely me, who I have started really coming to understand is a failed victim. And the difference between a failed victim and a high achieving victim is that usually the failed victim did not have a support network at home in some way, shape, or form. So they didn't have a mum that they could go home to and be nurtured with if they had a hard day. They don't have any love. They do not have the story of love. So for me, I, to this day, have not ever heard my mum say, I love you. My dad's way of saying I love you was, I love you, but. I love you, but. And insert whatever horrendous criticism you want to stick on the other side of that but. So the main difference between the high achieving victim and the failed victim is that the failed victim just doesn't have the program to be positive, to be happy, to be to be moving forward, to be able to do affirmations and have them work, to be able to have vision boards and have them work, to be able to go out and create an amazing life that they want to create. Essentially, a failed victim is someone who just almost every minute of every day feels like a worthless sack of shit that has just failed in their life all of the time. And I have actually created a couple of videos about this over the last couple of months, but I was doing it from such a dark space, and I was doing it from such a hard space, because I realized, wasn't that long ago, so maybe only about 5 or 6 weeks ago, that I spend almost every minute of every day grieving the loss of the life that I didn't get to have. I didn't get to have the happy families. I didn't get to have the happy Christmases. I didn't get to have the family that comes together in celebration. What I got was my grandma constantly, every time she asked me about school, she'd say, oh, how's school? Are you bored yet? Because I was bored at school. It wasn't made for me. And she did that all the way through high school. She did it all the way through my jobs. And it might not seem like something very big. It's like, yes, so what? But when you add that onto every other criticism that I got from her, and then when you add that onto my mum constantly criticizing everything that I did and having to have an opinion about everything that I did. And then you add that to the fact that my mum was an alcoholic, and there's no safety in an environment for a kid who's growing up with an alcoholic. And then you add that to my dad, who, when I would go to my dad and I would share what was going on, he would punish me for whatever it was I shared. If I was sharing this amazing experience, he would say something to knock me off my perch because for whatever reason, I was not allowed to be happy. And if I did something wrong and I went to him, then I would get punished for doing that wrong thing. So it created this pattern, belief, story, reality where I'm not, I don't want to say I am right now because I feel like I'm shifting it, but it created this reality where I was a failed victim. And I'm 45 and it's only been about 5 or 6 weeks that I've actually started to really own this part of me and started to very, very, very carefully and very, very, very slowly started to shift it. Because the other thing that I really come to understand is that if you are raised in an environment where you are trained and programmed and made into a failed victim or a failure or whatever you want to call it, if you are brought into this life and that is your reality, and every day you're waking up feeling like a worthless sack of shit, and every day you're waking up grieving the loss of the life that you didn't get to have, going to a standard coach and doing a standard affirmation doesn't work. Because I've done all the affirmations, I've done all the vision boards, I watched The Secret, I did Bob Proctor's program, I've done all the different things, I've done all the tapping. I mentioned this in a couple of in my last video, I think. I've done all the stuff and it doesn't work for me. So what I've done, and I think I did share it because part of the, I don't know if it's the CPTSD or if it's me, but I cannot necessarily remember what I've spoken about and what I haven't spoken about. So if I repeat myself frequently, it's probably more because I need to hear it again and again and again and again. And also because I've just forgotten. So, but I do want to share this again because I feel like it's really, really, really fundamental. And today it actually evolved a little bit. But my starting point, once I realized that I was a failed victim, once I realized that I felt like a worthless sack of shit every day, once I realized that I was grieving the loss of the life that I didn't ever get to have, that I didn't ever get to experience, and that I'm not ever now going to experience. And I think that was really the main realize, like that just smashed me about 6 years ago. And I think that's why for the last 6 years, even though I've struggled and I've had depression and I've gone through panic attacks and anxiety and all sorts of different things, and I felt like a failure forever, it wasn't really until my mum got sick that it smashed me, because something inside of me, and again, I didn't really own this. I didn't really bring it into my consciousness until about 5 or 6 weeks ago. Don't ask me what happened then. I just all of a sudden decided I'd had enough and it was time for a change. But when I did bring it into my conscious awareness, I realized it was about 6 weeks ago when Mum got sick and we knew she was going to die, that I realized I'm not ever going to get that life. I am not ever going to get that happy family. So while my mum was alive, there was always a chance. There was always the opportunity that my relationship with her could get better, especially because I had a daughter. It was her first granddaughter, and she was slowly starting to come around in some ways, but that could also be because she was sick and she was dying. And we found that out almost as soon as my daughter was born. So I can't really say that if she wasn't sick and she wasn't dying, whether she actually would have changed at all. But with her getting sick, it made me realize there's absolutely no chance of me ever having my happy, nurtured, loving, kind, generous, warm mother and life and Christmases and birthdays and just being part of a warm family. And like, there's no There's no chance of me ever having that experience with my family, and more so now that mum's dead. So for me, I really understand that because of this, because of my upbringing, I do not have certain certain lessons, certain programs, certain beliefs, certain neural pathways in my brain that somebody who did grow up with a loving parent, even one loving parent, would have. They would have a neural pathway that says you are loved. Like how different do you think life would be for someone who grew up not knowing that they were loved, to grow up knowing that they are loved? Like just that one teeny tiny little difference in perspective about life, knowing that as you go around life, you are in fact loved. I think it would just make a fundamental difference to most of us who are failed victims. And through this, I'm really understanding that it is a very careful and very slow process of, and a friend of mine said to me today, she said, it's almost like you have to reteach yourself. And I said, no, it's not reteach myself, it's teach myself, because it's not there, it's not in there, it's not part of my awareness. I have to teach myself this. So I don't have to reteach it, I don't have to relearn it, I have to learn it because it's never been there before. So I really want to share the importance of, if you are feeling in a space of feeling like a worthless sack of shit, and if you are feeling like you are grieving the loss of a life that you never got to have, and if you are feeling like you are on edge all the time, and there's anxiety and there's fear and there's panic and there's stress, and it is just part of your every waking moment, and sometimes your sleeping moments. There were times where this year, actually, and last year, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, full-blown panic attack. Thought I was dying. It was horrible. It was horrible because I woke up with it. I didn't wake up and then have it come on. I woke up in the middle of massive panic attacks, and these were like 1 o'clock in the morning. They were horrible. Worse because it's 1 o'clock in the morning and nobody's awake. Everybody's asleep. So that definitely made it worse. So the process, which I think I did share, but I want to share again, is very carefully and very slowly, starting with, I am possibly in the process of feeling safe. I am in this moment on my way to potentially feeling safe. It's a process. And only you know what the words are to use, or maybe you don't. And if you don't, then pop a comment in. I will come back, I'll read the comments, and I will write out some different sentences that can be used. But it is a process, and it's a process of being acutely honest with yourself. Because if you go on a rah-rah rant, so if you go, I am powerful and safe and connected and vibrant, then this voice is going to pop up and go, no, you're not. You're not at all. This is why affirmations don't work. Because people write this I am, and then they write what they want to become. But so they work for the ambitious victims, because these are people who are ambitious, and so they can create these belief systems. They usually have a belief system that actually says, yes, you can be that. When you are a failed victim, you do not have a belief system that says, yes, you can be that. You have a voice in your head that goes, nah, just on so many levels, no. You need to go and fuck yourself right now, because that's never going to happen. So it is being acutely honest, like just so honest with yourself. Because if you go down the pathway of saying, I am abundant, I am happy, I am an empowered human being who loves my life, and you do that often enough, then what I believe and what I feel ends up happening is that we create this relationship with ourselves that is based on a lie. And then we're creating this relationship with ourselves where we don't trust what we say. And as soon as you start to create that, then the chasm between you and you gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And like my hands are out to here. I know you can't see my hands, but they are constantly moving. When I'm talking, I'll have to figure out how I can move my desk back so I can sit back further so you can all see my moving hands. But yeah, the chasm is massive and we create this chasm unintentionally, but because 90% of the population, if they're a victim, they're a high achieving victim. And so they can go down that path. And so we're in the minority. Those of us that are failed victims, we are in the minority. Thank God. Could you imagine a life with all of us? Jesus, we'd never get anything done. So because we're in the minority and because the money, because the money that the coaches make is in the majority, we're the forgotten people. We're the people that think the reason why affirmations don't work is because there's something wrong with us. We're the people who go and get coaches, and when their program doesn't work, they say, well, you're not doing it enough, or you're not focused enough, or you're not aligned enough, or you don't really want to be as good as you think you want to be, or like it just, the shame from so many coaches to make you think that you are the reason why their program doesn't work for you, whereas in actual fact, the reason the program doesn't work for you is because it's just not written for you. It's not written for a person who is a failed victim. It's written for a person who is a high achieving victim. It's written for the high achievers that just need to have their mind redirected in a specific way. It works for the people who might have negative thoughts in their head, but underneath, they're actually really positive. They might just not be in tune with it. That's why it doesn't work. It does not work for a failed victim because we don't have, our grounding is not positivity. Our grounding is negativity. And it's not about saying what's positive and going, that's going to magically fix my life. It's just not, or it hasn't for me. I can't say it's not for every failed victim out there because I'm sure maybe it does. I don't know. I haven't really connected with any that I've had this conversation with. But what I can see clearly for myself, and this is every time I share something on a video, it's really about me and what works for me and what I see in the conversations that I've had with people. And this process of in this moment right now brings it into this moment right now. So in this moment right now, I'm sitting on a ball. Yep. I get a tick from my brain. Yep, that's true. And you can try this. You can try with saying true statements. In this moment right now, my hands are on the desk. Yep, that's true. They are. In this moment right now, there's a bear in the cupboard. Yep, absolutely there is. In this moment right now, there are 2 salt lamps that I can see behind me in the video camera. Yep, that's true. In this moment right now, I am an amazing, generous, kind, wonderful person who is loved by many people. No. I'm a worthless sack of shit that nobody loves right now. That's actually the voice that came up in my head. Like that, I just took a minute because I wanted to share the voice that came up in my head, not just go, nah, see, that's not true. I actually wanted to tune in and share with you what the voice said. And this is also part of the process of becoming aware, and I did share this in my first video that I did 3 or 4 days ago, which is creating awareness around the voices that are in your head. Even though in your subconscious, and I do understand that people have this conscious mind, subconscious mind concept, but it's a crock of shit. It's not subconscious, it's just ignored and chosen to be unrealized. And the people that say it's subconscious and conscious, in my personal opinion, are people who do not want to deal with their shit. They don't. They don't have to. It's not dominating enough for them. So they can put it over here in the little box and it's perfectly fine because it is not dominating their life. But for those of us where that negative voice is dominating our life, we cannot stick it in a box. It needs to come forward. It needs to come to the forefront. It needs to be realized, acknowledged, accepted, loved, allowed. Like this is, it's a process, and it's a slow process, and it can also be a fast process. It depends on how aware you are. It depends on how much work you've actually already done on yourself. It depends on how willing are you to see what is going on really, like really, truly, authentically. Although even using the word authentic, I'm not sure I really want to use that right now, because there are so many people on Facebook that are saying, I'm an authentic human being. But they're not. They're showing this part of life that they really want to show, but then there might be these other parts that they don't want anybody to see. That's not authenticity. That's just peacocking, really. It's peacocking. They're authentically peacocking. So for me, this process has been about becoming acutely aware of the voices in my head, what they are really telling me, what they are really saying, and what is really fueling my life right now. Because by becoming aware of that, I can do something about it. I can go, okay, yep, I right now believe that I'm a worthless sack of shit. I can do something with that. Like I can actually, by owning it, I can now do something about it. I can now go through a process of teaching myself what worth feels like, what worthiness is. I can go through a process of teaching myself what a higher valued human being is, because I have become brutally honest with the fact that I feel like a worthless sack of shit. I feel a little bit better than a worthless sack of shit. I kind of feel like a worthyless. Like there's a little bit of worth in there now because of the work that I've been doing. I have added a little bit of worth. I don't feel like a worthless sack of shit. I feel like a worthy less sack of shit. There's a slight difference, and I know it might not make sense, but there's actually a slight difference because there is worthiness within the lessness of that worth. I know that's weird. Makes sense in my brain though. And that's all that has to do. So back to feeling safe. I really believe that the first step to this process, the first step to hearing what your voice is saying, the first step to reducing that chasm of lies that have been told over many, 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 many years to yourself by yourself and to yourself from other people, is to say, and in this moment, mantra, affirmation, sentence, let's keep it simple, sentence, creation, and start being true and start saying in this moment right now, whatever your reality is. And then you can expand on that, say in this moment right now, I am not being bullied. It's true, I'm not. Right now I'm not. There's no one here. No one's hurting me. No one's saying anything horrible to me. I'm not even saying anything horrible to me in this moment right now. In this moment right now, I am not being tortured by anyone other than myself. And I felt like I needed to add that because there is still an element of me that tortures me. And this is something that I added today, actually, which I didn't have in my other video a couple of days ago, because I feel like I'm owning more of what I am doing to myself and owning it, hearing it, and realizing that nobody outside of me is actually doing this for probably 90% of my days right now. The 90% of my days is me doing it to myself as a way to protect myself, as a way, and I do understand this really clearly, is that if I say the worst things in my head that I could ever possibly say to myself, then there's nobody that can say anything worse to me. Like nobody that could say anything worse to me than I'm already saying to myself. It's a protection. It's a protection mechanism that stops people from being able to hurt me. If I'm already hurting, if I'm already lying in the ground, in the sand, if I already have a rock on my head, then if somebody comes and kicks sand in my eyes, it doesn't matter. The sand's already in my eyes. If someone comes and boots me, it doesn't matter. I'm already on the ground. Like there's nothing anyone could ever say to me that was worse to me than what I was already saying to myself. So part of this is their truth, the ownership of the reality in this moment right now. And nobody here is punishing me except maybe me. So whatever the sentences are going to be, and you can play with the words, but it is very, very gently, very, very slowly being honest with yourself about what you are doing to yourself, and the reality of most of the time people aren't actually in front of us doing anything to us. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does happen. For some people it happens for 2 or 3 hours a day, but there are always moments during the day where that person is not doing anything. Even if you're sitting on the toilet and there's no one around because you're on the toilet and you're by yourself in a cubicle at a shopping centre, in that moment right now, no one is standing in front of you punishing you. Like no one. So even if you're in the height of trauma, even if you're in the height of being punished, even if you're in the height of being bullied, there are still absolutely 100% guaranteed moments where you are not being bullied by anybody outside of you. You're the one that's doing the bullying. And that's the second step, is really coming to own the part of the self that is actually bullying the self. But to do that, we need safety. So to do that, to really come into owning and hearing and allowing those parts to come through, we need to feel safe first. So we come back to every single moment a trigger comes up, every single moment that feeling of feeling like a worthless sack of shit comes up, every single moment that you're grieving the loss of a life that you never got to have. Every single moment those feelings come up, you stop and you say, in this moment right now, I could potentially feel safe. And then after a little bit, that'll start to feel off. So then you might want to say, in this moment right now, I am actually safe. For me right now, like as I'm looking around my room, I'm actually safe. There's no one here. There's no noise outside. There's no traffic. I know my neighbors are awake. I know my daughter's asleep. I know the dogs are asleep. I know the cats are all running around somewhere. In this moment right now, I am, in fact, completely safe. That's true. There's no, you're not actually, like a plane could fall down from the sky. Well, no, because there aren't any planes, because everything's been shut down and we're all in isolation again. So yeah, it's this very careful, thought out process that you have to pay attention to. And you have to pay attention to it because no one else is going to pay attention to it. No one else can do this for you. I cannot do this for you. I can't. I can give you all the sentences. I can give you all the ideas and the concepts, but I can't do it for you. And so this is where this work really thrives for people who are at the end of the end of the end of the end. Like they're at the end of the victim road. They're so far at the end of the victim road that they could not possibly be any more of a victim. If you're at a point where you think, I cannot possibly be any worse than this, like this is it. I've peaked at my worstness. That's even a word. I have peaked at my worstness. If you have peaked there, then this is the time. You can't get any worse. Like, you are as bad as you could ever be. Can't get worse. And I can hear in my brain, meh, pretty sure it could get worse, actually. You could lose your legs, you could lose your arm, you could break your back, you could lose all your money, you could end up on the street, your daughter could get taken away. And it's like, wow, this is what happens when I lie to myself by saying it couldn't get any worse. That was a lie. And then my brain has gone on this rant of how many different ways it could actually be worse. And that is a perfect example of why, if you're going to go down this path, lying doesn't help. It does not help to lie to yourself, because that's what creates the spiral in the brain. That's what creates the thoughts and the stories. Like, did you hear me before? Well, a plane could come out of the sky and drop on the house and blow us all up. Or, well, actually, you could lose your legs, lose your arm, break your back, lose your head. Child could get taken away. Like that, it's the lie that creates the spiral. So if I had not lied, I would never have gone down the spiral. So, and this has actually been really good for me because I'm really hearing it. So it's really anchoring this honesty, honesty, honesty. Create the safety, because then your brain, you will feel safe to share the truth, knowing that if you start to punish yourself, you're going to catch it. And you're going to say, in this moment right now, I actually do not need to punish myself. It's what I was doing today. I started punishing myself. And so I stopped and I said, in this moment right now, I don't need to punish myself. In this moment right now, I do not need to torture myself for what I did. In this moment right now, I do not need to bully myself into believing that I've done something wrong. Like, this can go so many different ways. This can be used in so many different areas. I really feel like for me, it's going to end up being this beautiful unraveling and increasing of trust. And the more I trust myself, the more I will hear come through. I kind of feel like I've covered a lot in this video. Yeah, if you have any questions, please post it in the comments. Or if you don't want to post it in the comments, then I don't know if you can send me a message on Facebook, on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. I don't really use it anymore, but you could, if you look up Love Creates Freedom, there's a page and you could message me on that and I will get the notification of that. But yeah, that's probably the best place. If you don't want to comment here, send it to Love Creates Freedom. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's it. And I also just wanted to take a minute to say, if this is you, if you are going through this, I'm just so sorry that this is your reality as well. I just feel so bad that I may not be the only person going through this. And I'm sure that as I meet more and more people that are going through this, I will be in extremely good company, because I feel like those of us that do this work, we're not going to be fake. We're not going to be lying. We're not going to be punishing each other. We're actually going to be really strongly, deeply connected, because we're doing it based on truth, like actual truth, real truth, not a fake truth. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to jump off. Thank you so much for watching, and I might get on maybe tomorrow night or a couple of days. Thanks. Bye.